Sunday, first pitch time as we get you set for baseball coming up 1 hour from now. A lot of first pitches across the country. We will get you the latest information, everything you need here on the Wager Talk and YouTube channel. Joined here by three Wager Talk legends, Dave Koken, Rob Vino, and Steve Merrill. Don't forget, this is also the final day for Dave's special promo code, Koken50. 50% off anything, whether it's daily to a full year package. Use the coupon code Koken50. It goes away at midnight. Dave, how'd you do yesterday?
Perfect. 2-0. Pretty easy winners. Cardinals with the shutout, and had the Mariners first five, and they just clobbered Texas, so that was good. And started off this morning with a win in the KBO, so things are good, and we'll try and keep them going that way. Going to probably have a couple of baseball games today that I'm looking at with optimism, and they'll be posted after the show.
And you can make sure to go find that on wagertalk.com. Don't forget to use the promo code Koken50. It expires at midnight. Also joining me from Wager Talk is Steve Merrill. Steve, how was your Saturday?
Went 1-1 in baseball, won by half a run and lost by half a run. So I guess that was an accurate 1-1 day. I had the over in the White Sox Cubs game. And then I missed out the Dodgers, had the Dodgers on the run line. They came back and won by a single run. The walk-off home run was a single run winner. They had bases loaded the inning before that was my chance. So close to a 2-0 day, but went 1-1 overall. And I've got baseball and basketball best bets up there right now, and also a free baseball free play also at wagertalk.com.
And also joining us, hopefully he unmutes his mic because its mic appears to be muted, is Rob Vino of wagertalk.com. Rob, how you doing?
Matt, can you hear me now?
There
We can hear you now.
Now we can, yes.
What do you, ski prophet, Rob, muting your mic between every segment?
Yeah, you know what? I thought I was being ignored. I was in a few minutes early and saying hello, and nobody was answering, so now I know it's my own fault.
No, actually, we were ignoring you. No.
It wouldn't be the first time, Dave, believe me. Yeah, it was 3-2 yesterday, Matt, but the best part of it was the NBA, 2-0 in the NBA. 1-2 in baseball, fell short with a pitcher that I love to back, even though it was against a pretty difficult trend so far this year. Had Zach Gallen, first five run line. Thought maybe Arizona could be the team ahead 1-0 or 2-1. Didn't turn out that way because once again they failed to hit a left-handed starter. Tyler Anderson looked like Whitey Ford out there yesterday, so pretty good for the Giants, not so good for the Diamondbacks. The good news was the Twins run line play, which came home pretty easily against Kansas City yesterday. So it was good NBA. It's been good all season long. Therefore, today, already up with NBA. I'll be up with Major League Baseball as soon as we conclude the show.
All right, let's get started with our three games for today. And the first one up is the Angels and the A's. Bundy against Montas. Montas got rocked last time out. Afterwards, he said it was his mechanics, said he was thrown off by not going every 4 days. Bundy also got rocked, quote unquote. Yeah, 4 runs in 4 innings against the Giants. We'll start with you, Dave.
It was his mechanics. Sometimes you'll hear a pitcher say something after a bad game, and it's like, yeah, okay. But I watched that game, and he was just a mess from the get-go, and I think that was probably something to do with the fact that he'd missed the start with the back being tight and his timing was off. So you'd expect a bounce back today, and he's a lefty, which is bad news for the Angels because their numbers against lefties this year have been depressingly bad. As for Bundy, he's off a game that wasn't very good, but, you know, he's going to have those every once in a while. I would still favor the Angels here, despite the fact that I don't like them against lefties. And that's why it's going to be an opinion game for me and one that I won't be on. But I do like Bundy against Montas. I want to see Montas. You know, mechanics sometimes stay out of whack for a couple of starts. And I'm not so sure that the fact that he recognizes it was mechanics doesn't necessarily translate into, okay, he'll get it all fixed today. If he does, then he's got a chance to do pretty well against this Angels lineup. But Bundy, I kind of like Bundy's numbers this year. I think last start was just a little bit of a blip for him. His slider's really working well this season. He just didn't have quite the command of it last start that he usually does. So it's just a lean for the Angels to me. Won't be a play for me, but I think at the price, the odds makers are kind of screaming at you that LA is the right side here, and they're a very small dog. And if you put any weight into line analysis, if you will, you'd be probably looking a little bit at the Angels here. The Oakland line looks trappy, shall we say.
I'll say the slider, 0.29 batting average against it so far this season. Rob, third time against the A's for Bundy. How much will you look at those previous 2 starts?
Well, you look at him a little bit because certainly his success is a good thing. But what I'm looking at more, Matt, here is the A's lineup, which is, for lack of a better term, it's a power-propelled lineup. They don't necessarily hit for
Montes is a
average.
righty.
When they're hitting
By the way,
home runs.
I said Montes is a righty. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking about.
Frankie Montes is a righty. Yeah,
My
absolutely.
thought, Sean Manaea.
I got him mixed up with one of the other guys, and it's
Manaea,
right here.
maybe.
It's right here in front of me on my stat sheet, but I just read it wrong. Sorry.
The Vendetti kid, right throw with both arms. Yeah, I'm looking at this matchup, Matt, from an offense versus pitcher perspective here. Now, Dylan Bundy, of course, until last game, had cured his home run woes. That's what what's held him back for quite some time is the fact that he gives up a lot of long balls, and it wouldn't seem to be a good matchup against an Oakland A's team that can hit home runs, especially in a daytime game in Oakland, right? Because the ball travels better in the day in that Coliseum. But Oakland hasn't necessarily torn the cover off the ball this week whatsoever. And I go back to last week's matchup against Luke Weaver, a guy who had allowed 7 home runs in 13 2/3. And they played a day game against Luke Weaver, and Luke Weaver came out and absolutely mowed them down. So to me right now, it's kind of conflicting arguments. I would love to play the A's lineup against Bundy, but I don't know if Bundy's home runs allowed to the Giants were a one-off or if it's something that's going to start again for him. And I don't know if the A's silence with the long ball is going to continue here. Montas, the mechanics, and to Dave's point here, the back, he could have compensated for the back, right? You never know. When mechanics go out of whack, maybe he's still, without having that start, feared a little bit of the back injury and threw a little bit differently. We'll see if he comes back. If all was well for both of these guys, to me, it would be an easy first 5 under play. But I have so many conflicting arguments in this game. I'd rather watch it, see what happens, and then go from there.
Yeah,
Reynolds. By the way, I figured out what I did. For some reason, I was looking. I have Minor right below Montes on today's rundown. I was looking at Minor, and obviously he is a lefty, but Montes is not. So sorry about that, guys.
Steve, an under umpire going today, but Montes has seen the Angels once way back in late July.
Yeah, I mean, both starters coming off bad outings. So if you look for the bounce back angle, better outings by them, you'd lean under. But then the 8.5 is kind of an ugly number for the full game. It initially were some 9s out there. As Rob said, first 5 innings, it's just 4.5. That's kind of an ugly number as well. So the under's kind of priced out for me for those reasons. One thing on the A's, though, we've talked about this for several weeks now, and Rob mentioned they're a power team. But if you're just to look at this matchup without knowing what team was which, you've got one team, the Angels, that have lost 8 out of 10. They're 9-19 on the season. Meanwhile, the A's are 19-9. But the Angels have a better batting average. They have more hits on the season. They have the exact same amount of home runs as the A's. So there's a lot of things that don't jive. Oakland does have a better bullpen. But yeah, if Oakland's not hitting the Powerball, which they're not right now, they're a dangerous team to back, and they only have 8 hits or less now in 5 straight games. They've gone under 4 straight, so it does appear that they're cooling off.
Yeah, I for the past couple of years, I can't get an Oakland game right to save my life. I had Oakland full game yesterday. The fielding errors, it just didn't work out. So that's the A's and the Angels. Sunday Night Baseball, for some reason, is the Phillies and the Braves. You want to probably tune in this game in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings. Here's a fun stat. The Phillies are hitting .291 with runners in scoring position this month and are 8-12. Zach Eflin's first start against the National League. He's faced the Yankees, Orioles, and Red Sox so far. We'll go to you, Rob. You can start us.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much. If you're going to bet the Phillies, you have to take your shot with first 5, right? You certainly don't want that bullpen involved. Yesterday, again, another great example. Coasting along. No fault of Zach Wheeler's whatsoever. He threw great. But here comes Hector Neris to lead that 3-ring circus called the bullpen. And then, in fact, they got the newly acquired Brandon Workman into the festivities. 4 hits in 1 inning. And next thing you know, game's over. And this is a Braves lineup, guys, that's shorthanded, right? You're not facing Ronald Acuna. You're not facing Ozzie Albies. You're not facing Nick Markakis. They've sort of switched Freddie Freeman up in the order because to compensate for all the absences. And yet the Phillies bullpen can't get anybody out. So there's no way you trust the Phillies full game. Although offensively, I think I saw, Matt, where they are either 2 or 3 in the major leagues in OPS as a team so far this year. So no problem, especially from Bryce Harper, no problem producing total bases. But wow, that bullpen just way too scary. You'd probably have to play Atlanta, but I'm not thrilled with Atlanta and Josh Tomlin either, a guy who throws a bunch of junk up there, sometimes successful, sometimes not. And a Atlanta bullpen that is, middle of the road, in my opinion, at best. There's no fatigue here for the Atlanta bullpen, so certainly they'll have better arms coming out. At this point, you just don't play the Phillies full game. If you like them, you play them first 5 and just hope to avoid the bullpen in the first 5, I guess.
Steve, Zach Eflin's not going deep in games. Last start, a 94.8 mile per hour average exit velocity for his for the balls that were hit. Pretty crazy when you look at that.
Yeah, and like you said, not going in deep in games, as Rob referenced, is not a good thing with the Phillies. The one huge edge the Braves have in this matchup, of course, is the much better bullpen. 1.3 whip on the season. The Phillies, a 2.0 whip, which is just atrocious, 2.4 on the road. That, of course, is walks and hits per innings pitch, which I like to look at a little bit more than ERA, especially for bullpens. Phillies also off 5 straight losses. By the way, it looks like that Braves offense is really heating up. Not only have they won 5 of their last 6 games after that 4-game losing streak, but they've more importantly hit the ball well. They now have 11 hits or more in 4 straight games, 13 or more in 3 of those 4. Yet, once again, the odds makers have done a good job pricing this total. It's 9.5, a real ugly number there. And the first 5 inning is 5.5 in most spots, which is an even uglier number. So it's a tough call.
Dave, I feel like a winning strategy here is let the Phillies get a lead and bet against them live.
Well, it wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. Money's pouring in on the Phillies here. I mean, this line opened at Braves in the 125, 130 range, and Philly is now moving to the favorite, and that is simply sweep money. Okay, you're going to see this on Sundays, and it shouldn't be confused with necessarily sharp buys, because when teams are in a position to get swept, bettors will frequently, especially if the teams are close to even, bettors will get out there and say, well, it's tough to sweep the opponent, and they will bet on the team that's trying to avoid getting swept. And it's not a terrible strategy. Okay, sometimes you look at betting patterns and say, well, that doesn't make any sense. But this one kind of does. When teams are fairly evenly matched, it is difficult to get sweeps. And so the Phillies are in that mode where they're trying to avoid losing the entire series, salvage something out of the finale. I think I would lean to the Phillies based on that, but it's really tough to back them right now. I don't like taking teams on. It's one thing if they're just on like a 2-game losing streak and going in looking to avoid the sweep. Those are kind of situations I do like, but not when the team's lost. It's 5 in a row now, I believe it is, for the Phillies. That's a slump, and I'm not really crazy about backing teams in slumps unless I'm getting enough to make it worth betting. I don't think I am here. I certainly have missed the party if I like the Phillies. I'm not going to betting them now would to me be a bad bet in terms of value, because you know what the line was and you now know what the line is. So I think the Phillies win, and I will not be backing it with even 1 red cent.
I would not either. I mean, I really do think it's a strategy where if they're winning early, you bet on the other team. And more often than not, you'll cover your losses there potentially because you're going to get some sweet prices live. All right, third game of Senzatella and Stripling. Senzatella last year had a 6.38 ERA and 4 starts against the Dodgers, so you figure it's Coors Field. Well, no, he actually did worse in Dodger Stadium than he did in Coors Field. And he's one of 21 pitchers with 3 starts this season to average at least 6 innings. So he's going deep. Steve, we'll start with you on this one.
Well, I've said all season long, if you play the Dodger games, you either play the other team to win outright as a good priced underdog, or you take the Dodgers minus the 1.5 run line. And it's, worked over 85% of the time. Unfortunately, it did not work yesterday for myself and my clients last night, as the Dodgers won by exactly 1 run. Definitely had a chance to win by double digits there. They tied it up 3-3, but they hit into a double play when they did so in the 8th inning with bases loaded. Then they get the walk-off homer in the 9th to win by just 4-3. But it's still... it's only the second time, basically, in the last 3 weeks that they came by 1 run or less, by exactly 1 run, rather. And they've still won now. I believe it's 9 of their last 10 outright, and only 2 of those 9 wins have been by exactly 1 run. So I'd like the Dodgers run line once again if you're going to play them. If you like Colorado here, would not surprise me to see Colorado avoid the sweep. The Dodgers have had a tendency to let down at times. I go back to that first series this year against the Giants. They win 17-2, and then they lose the next two outright as over a $2 favorite. We saw the same thing with the Padres series. They lost the first two as a good-sized favorite, and then they win 6-0 and 11-2. So the Dodgers do have a tendency to take their foot off the gas, and this does look like a potential letdown spot today.
Dave, what are we seeing from Stripling? He's got an 8.10 ERA this month.
Well, before I get to Stripling, I want to answer Robbie Pingle's question, if you can punch that up. It's a kind of a long one. But he said, do the panels count the free picks on the site as part of the packages you guys sell as far as records go? As a square newbie, some of the free picks aren't doing so well for Wager Talk, a sports memo. I can only speak for myself. Any play I post is a play. So if it's posted as a free play or I do a free play video, those are actual plays. They do get counted in the records. I don't give out anything that I'm not betting on myself and that isn't a play. It may vary from one person to the next, so I can't speak for anybody else, but there's my answer to that question. Looking at, I'll let you guys also chime in on that before I get to Senzatella. How do you guys grade your free plays?
Yeah, I'll just say quickly, I mean, they're not in my official record, but obviously I think they're worth playing. If I was to play them, they'd be an opinion play versus a best bet. You know, if you're playing a best bet for a full unit, play the free plays for maybe a half unit. You know, it's a money management thing for me, but obviously we all think there's an edge there. We wouldn't be releasing it.
Yeah, I agree with Steve. Essentially the same thing. It's not a full unit play. It's a half unit play. It's an opinion I like, but I didn't play it enough to make it a full unit play.
And Matt, I'll say real quick too, for me on the free plays, guys, it's about line value. You have to be getting a good line, you know, so that's kind of the decipher for me sometimes if it becomes a play, if it's close to a key number, say it's an over 5.5 first inning, you know, if you get a 5, maybe it is a full unit then. So it's usually very dependent on line value as well. You want to make sure you get a good line value play on these free plays.
Rob?
Yeah, and I'll fall right in line with you and Steve, Matt. They are not counted in the official record. Obviously, if any of us take the time to put up a free play, it's something we like. If it was, in my case, if it was good enough to or strong enough to make the client card, then it would be on the client card. So it's a step below, like both the guys ahead of me mentioned. It's an opinion play. It's worth a half a unit. So again, we wouldn't take the time to do free plays. I know Dave does them video wise. Some of us do them written wise. But we wouldn't take the time if we didn't think they were a good bet.
All right, Dave, back to you on Stripling.
That's why I wanted to answer, because we all, you guys do it one way and I do it the other. So now we go to I want to talk Senzatella first. His velocity's up this year. I mean, it's not like he's become Nolan Ryan, but fastball's up, and that's a good sign for him. He's come into the season strong, and he's pitching pretty good baseball. Stripling, there are some worries to me on Stripling. He's a guy who he's not going to blow hitters away, and he needs to get ground balls, and he's not getting them right now. 28.4% ground ball. Hard hit percentage, 95 or more velocity, 50.6%. Ooh. Now, I know it's a small sample, but those are numbers those would be red flag numbers to me. I need to see something better out of Stripling. The flip side of it is, and I'm not the only one who said this, but when the Rockies were 10-2, it was like, just wait, because this is going to go the other way. They're just not a very good baseball team. And it has. And they're just not a team I can get excited about, even at a really big price. I can't get excited about them. So the team form here is all Dodgers. I think that's a tough loss for the Rockies as well yesterday. This is the opposite of the Philly Atlanta in a sense, in that where outside of the 5-game losing streak, I would make a case for Philadelphia. The Rockies are in such bad form, I think the likelihood is they get swept. So I think the Dodgers win this game, but I would absolutely not be laying that kind of a price until I see more out of Stripling. And he could be the odd man out in that rotation, because somebody eventually is going to get pushed back to a spot starter role. I think it might be him.
For when Alex Wood comes back, and then eventually Wood will get hurt again, and then he'll probably be back in the rotation anyway. Rob, close us out on this one.
Yeah, Ross Stripling could be the perfect elixir for the Rockies offense. But, guys, I'll point out the age-old problem with the Colorado Rockies, and that is that home-road offensive dichotomy, which is just as drastic this year as it's been any year over the last, quarter century. Rockies offense at home this year, 307 batting average, 355 on base, 515 slugging, 870 OPS, compared to a road batting average of 199, an on base percentage of 277, slugging 297 for that lineup on the road, and OPS 574. The differential in all four of those numbers is monstrous. Now, again, Ross Stripling could be the elixir here. He's allowed 5 home runs in his last 7 2/3. He couldn't hold a 6-2 lead against Seattle last week. He took the mound after getting the big lead and then got yanked from the game because he was, getting hit around. But I can't trust the Rockies on the road. It's been the same deal for a zillion years. Senzatella, to me, is not good enough at this point in time to get through this Dodger lineup. He's never been beyond 5 innings pitched against this team, by the way. 3 starts, 5 innings is max. Then you have to look to the Colorado bullpen. The Dodgers do have a couple of bullpen concerns here, guys. They'll likely be without Caleb Ferguson, who's thrown extremely well from the left-hand side for them this year, but he's thrown back-to-back games, 31 pitches. Maybe Blake Trinan doesn't go, but that bullpen is so deep and still has an adequate amount of left-handed relievers that I don't think it's a problem for LA in this game.
Over 400 people in here, and this is why we do the show on the weekends, because we know you guys need your information as we get closer to first pitch here. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to hit the bell. You'll never miss a show. And, of course, we will be back with 2 o'clock shows starting tomorrow, because tomorrow is Monday. We also want to say hello to Matthias from Kenya, who is joining us. We always appreciate our listeners overseas. He says he's going to be in Las Vegas soon, so we'll see. But appreciate our viewers and from all over the countries across the world. All right, let's do a couple quick hits, and then we'll promote what's up on the website, because there are some games coming up at around 1 o'clock. And actually, we've got a game in about 14 minutes or so. Marlins and Nationals, Humberto Mejia making his 3rd start against Anibal Sanchez. Dave, we'll start with you. Anibal Sanchez, hitters are hitting .452 the first time through, .290 the second time through.
Yeah, and the OPS, it's not a soft .452 either, because the OPS is 1.46. He is getting clobbered early in games, and maybe that happens here. Not much on Mejia. I'm staying out of it.
Rob, 10.5 of the number for this one. It's a high number but these two pitchers are capable of giving up runs.
They certainly are, Matt. And real quick, I'm not going to go through the numbers the way I just did with the Rockies, but Washington, if you look them up, they do have quite the disparity between their offense against right-handed pitchers and left-handed pitchers, the worst being against right-handed pitchers, where they only have a 696 OPS. There's a couple of things here real quick, Matt. Anibal Sanchez, the reason why he's getting clocked all over the place, the velocity's gone south. I think he's down to 89 miles an hour is where he tops out now. It's hard for him to get by on that. Maybe he won't here against the Marlins as well. That sets up good for the Marlin offense. Marlin concern real quick here is the concussion that Francisco Cervelli suffered on Friday. He's really good with this young staff. Jorge Alfaro, ex-Philly catcher, just came back from coronavirus on Friday and caught 12 innings yesterday. And he's going to have to go out there and do it again. Not so sure Mejia is familiar with Alfaro throwing to him, so you could see some problems there. 10.5 is a large number, but if I were going to play, I'd probably play over. A lot of humidity here, guys, today on the East Coast as well, where the ball travels a lot better in the humid weather.
Steve?
Yeah, one thing that jumps out to me, of course, is Miami still has a better record than the Nationals. They lost 5 in a row against the Braves and Mets, and all of a sudden they've won 2 out of 3 as an underdog so far in this series against the Nationals. But if you look at the numbers, despite being just 10-14, the Nationals still have a better batting average, more runs scored per game, a better bullpen overall than the 11-10 Marlins. So at some point, the Nationals will start playing better. I'm just not going to try to guess if it's the game today.
Red Sox and Orioles, LeBlanc and Godley. LeBlanc is terrible. Godley seems to alternate good and bad starts. Rob, start us off.
Yeah, Godley's not a guy that you trust to go deep in games. Boy, when his ball is heavy and down in the zone, he's tremendous. When it's not heavy and down in the zone, he gets into trouble. But the biggest trouble here, guys, is going to be the Boston bullpen, which has just been outrageously bad. We talked about the Phillies, but the Red Sox do not have an arm in that bullpen that's thrown more than 2 innings that has an ERA under 5.73. Matt Barnes and Ryan Brazier have the 2 best bullpen ERAs for anybody over 2 innings, and those are their numbers, 5.73 and 5.75. But they're probably not available here today. Barnes throws 3 out of the last 4 days, blows a save yesterday, and for Brazier, if he goes, it'll be back-to-back and third in 4 days. So you could see Baltimore hitting the ball well late in this contest if they don't get to Godley in the first 5 innings. For me, I'd have to look Baltimore, even as bad as Wade LeBlanc has been, and it's probably a pass, but if I were forced to make a play, I'd probably take the Baltimore side here and think they'll win the back 4 innings.
Steve?
Yeah, as Rob said, should be some runs, especially late. So the over would probably be the way to play it, although not a lot of value at 10.5. The odds makers have done a good job pricing this. But who would have thought the Red Sox, who came in at 6-18 a few games ago, would be favored in all 3 games, or actually all 4 games in this road series? A road favorite in all 4 games. But they have gone 3-1 since that 6-18 start. And the Orioles' only win came yesterday after 5 losses, and that, of course, was in extra innings, and they barely won that game 5-4. So I don't want the Red Sox as a road favorite, but it does look like the Orioles have really cooled off.
Dave, what did you price this game?
I priced it with the Red Sox 120, so it's in that range. But beware, the Red Sox have sent another message to the team that they're looking to get rid of bodies and build for the future. And when guys know they're just not going to be a part of an organization much longer, and I think the players have a good idea who they are, it's just bad for the team. And so Boston, I did actually have a winner with the Red Sox a couple of days ago on a first 5 play. So I think it was the first time since the opening week that I made a bet on them. And they're back on the do not play or fade list. So this would be an easy pass because my numbers say that they might be the right side here, even though it's right around the line. But there's no way I'm betting the Red Sox right now.
Tigers and Indians. McKenzie was awesome yesterday.
Oh, boy,
10
was he ever.
strikeouts. He was amazing. And, of course, I had the first 5 for the Indians, and they gave up 1 mistake. They made Matt Boyd look like Cy Young yesterday. Skubal on the mound for the Tigers. He got lit up, but it was against the White Sox, who seemingly hit all lefties. Carrasco on the mound for the Indians. Steve, start us off.
Yeah, I mean, McKenzie was the youngest-looking pitcher I've ever seen in my life. I mean, did he not look like a 12-year-old out there? I mean, and he seems like a good kid. I liked his interview afterwards. 10 strikeouts, 1 short of Louis Tiant's all-time record for a debut as an Indian. So pretty cool stuff there. I don't think there's necessarily a letdown, but you got to figure the team was kind of focused having him on the mound. Indians have now won every game this year in which they've scored 3 runs or more. It was 13-0 a couple of days ago. So let's see, they won yesterday. Actually, no, I'm sorry. They lost Saturday. How about that, guys? When they put up the 5 runs, not only did that snap a 20-game win streak against the Tigers, but it's their only loss this year when they've scored 3 or more. But they're a solid pitching organization. Carrasco, there are 12 walks in his last 3 starts. That's a big concern for me in this one.
That's what I wrote down. I've got a note here, BB with an arrow up next to it. And that always concerns me, is when a pitcher is just issuing free passes. And it actually becomes more concerning against a team like Detroit from this standpoint. The Tigers really aren't going to beat you very often with that lineup. What you have to avoid is putting them in position to beat you by issuing free passes and getting them in position to score, to steal some runs. I don't want them here because, I mean, Carrasco's still, outside of that, that's just a blip. His first 2 times through the lineup, he's got some really good numbers. He could overpower this Detroit lineup. And Skubal is going to have to show me that he's ready. The first start did not appear that he was. It might have been nerves. We'll have to wait and see, but he wasn't very good. And I would think the Indians win this game, but it's a gigantic price, so I move on.
Rob?
Yeah, Carrasco has to get things right here today. I mean, a couple of quotes. He knows he's got to get it right. He thinks he might be able to here against this lineup. I'm not one to doubt him. Where Skubal's concerned, there was a lot of hype when he took the mound last week because it was going to be him and then Casey Mize the next night, and the Tigers were marching out their future, 2/5 of their future starting rotation. Threw through high velocity, 95 miles an hour, just, didn't look major league ready in that first start. Could have been pressure, as Dave said. We'll see here. But I'll lean on this. The Tigers have allowed 5 or more runs in 10 of their last 11 games. And in 7 of those 11, they've given up 7 or more runs. To me, I might look over in this contest. I don't know that Carrasco fully finds it here, but I might look over in this game.
Well, I went once again with the first 5 under here. I'm hoping that Scooble's poor effort was just the White Sox or the 27 Yankees against left-handers. So I went first. I just can't quit it. I watched the Indians look so terrible against Boyd yesterday that I went first 5 under there. Jays and Rays. Thornton's on the mound for Toronto. Fleming, a prospect for the Rays. By the way, last year in AAA, right-handers hit .348 against Fleming. Lefties hit .056. Not exactly one of the best prospects in the Rays organization. Dave, what do you think?
No, he's not a big arm. He's a pitch to contact guy, and he's gonna have to be a ground ball pitcher to succeed in the majors. He's not a really well regarded prospect, and particularly with lefties, the first time around the league, they sometimes have success because they might have some deception in motion or something like that, and it takes hitters a little time to figure them out. I'd be more concerned about Thornton, who has not been good early on. I mean, he's only faced 24 batters. He's given up 13 hits. So he has not come to, he might not be healthy. And Tampa's just rolling right now. I don't want to lay this kind of a price on a rookie, but on a debuting pitcher, but it's the only side I could play would be Tampa.
Rob, they say Fleming is more crafty than overpowering.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, then he needs Jamie Moyer to mentor him, I guess. I won't waste a lot of time here, Matt, because it was one of the first games I crossed off the list. I put a question mark next to the over because I thought there's possibility for runs here. If I'm Fleming, I don't want to be facing this Toronto lineup, which has the ability to break out. And as Dave said, Tampa's been red hot. And Thornton hasn't been good either. So to me, it was a look toward the over, if anything, and nothing on the side.
Steve?
Yeah, were they 11-2 their last 13 and the 2 losses? One of them, of course, came that started the Toronto series at Buffalo, and then, of course, the other one was that first game after the Yankee sweep a couple nights ago on Friday. And I mentioned on the show here I thought they might be flat in that game, but they've been red hot otherwise. But don't look now, guys. The Buffalo Blue Jays are in the playoffs as of coming in today. I think they're the 8th team right now. So we'd have 2 playoff teams in this matchup. Both teams in good current form. Toronto 6-1 their last 7, even after that loss last night.
Brewers and Pirates, JT Brubaker against Corbin Burns. You've got Brubaker, who after his last start said that he was a little rusty. The 12 days off did affect him, so we'll see if that helps here. And then you've got Burns, who did start last time out, only threw 49 strikes and 83 pitches. Rob, we'll start with you.
Yeah, and this could be a good lineup for him, Matt, because Corbin Burns is a strikeout or walk type of pitcher. And the Pirates are a very undisciplined team at the plate. Don't have a lot of patience. And when you're a strikeout walk guy, facing an offense that has no patience is a good thing. He's certainly the guy I would prefer to back here, although he's going to need some relief help. I don't think Corbin Burns is going to get much more than, 5, possibly. I wouldn't even think 6. I would think 5. So you're going to have to depend on the Milwaukee bullpen for at least 4 innings here. But I think he's probably the right side because the free swinging Pirates, I don't think they'll hit him today.
Steve?
Yeah, don't look now, but the Pirates are red hot. They've won 33% more games in the last 2 days than they'd won the first 3 weeks of the season. We did the show Friday, of course. Dave, Matt, and I were here. They were 4-17, and Dave said that line looked like a line, where the odds makers are kind of trapping you into the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they've won 2 straight now. What I like, though, guys, is they've gone 19-7 runs scored versus runs allowed the last 2 games on 28 hits. I believe in offensive momentum, as you guys know. Bad teams do find a way to win. As I mentioned Friday, they weren't going to go 190 for the season win percentage. So I think they very well could get the sweep today.
First time through the lineup, Burns, 071 batting average, 349 OPS. He's got dominant stuff. And if he's commanding his pitches, he could be just downright nasty. The betting market is going to love the Brewers today because they are trying to avoid the sweep. And they're pushing the price up to a point where I can't get it. I wasn't going to get involved anyway because I knew it was going to be high. But I priced this at 1546, about 150. So 149 to be precise. So I'm not going to pay that kind of a penalty. I think the Brewers win, but I think you can find better value elsewhere.
Yeah, the first 5 under might be interesting. Friday it pushed, Saturday it lost. So, of course, the one time I don't play it, it probably wins. But I thought that was kind of interesting because it is 5 for the first 5 under for that one. All right, so that's kind of the games up to 1:30. Before we continue on with the other games, Dave and Steve and Rob are all on WagerTalk.com. There's NBA, there's NHL, there's baseball. Dave's going to have potentially KBO. Dave, what can they find on your page today?
Well, he won't find any KBO because Mondays are off days in KBO, so there's nobody playing. But I will probably put up 2 baseball games, and I'm probably going to put up the hockey game. Might post one of those as a non-video, but I post it as a free play. I haven't figured out which game, but it'll be one of the 3 I'll post as a free play, and then I'll have a best bet, and I'm not sure how I'm going to rate the other game. But there'll be stuff up there, and it's been a really good run the last couple of months, and I'm hoping it continues.
Rob, there's some NBA. You going to have some of that up today?
It is up, Matt. It's been up. It went up overnight. 2 NBA best bets. The MLB will come at the conclusion of this show. So give it about 45 minutes from now, and you'll find the Major League Baseball plays up there, probably 2 plays. But NBA has been spectacular all season long for me. So once again, find it a decent read on these playoffs off a 2-0 day yesterday, which was really good. So NBA now, MLB.
By the way, I stand
minutes.
corrected. There are 2 makeup games evidently on Monday in KBO, so I will have to look at those later on.
And then, Steve, what can they find on your page?
2 best bets for Sunday, 1 baseball, 1 basketball. Of course, Rob and I have been doing very well in the NBA playoffs and the regular season as well. But baseball and basketball, and more importantly, a free play. I've got a daytime baseball free play as well at wagertalk.com.
And you can find my stuff on sportsmemo.com. I've got my NFL win total, because don't forget NFL is a couple weeks away, and we'll put some baseball up there shortly. All right, let's continue on. Twins and Royals. Bubic against Whistler, a.k.a. bullpen game for the Twins, Dave.
But bullpen games for the Twins are not a problem because they've got a really deep bullpen, and Rocco Baldelli knows how to move his guys in and out. He's done really well. Whistler's been effective so far. Opposing hitters... 42 plate appearances and only 6 hits? 2 of them left the park. Bubic, first time through, has been pretty good, and then hitters start to catch up with him. But that might not apply here because the Twins have already seen a lot of this rookie. So his really good first time through the number lineups might not be in play here. Looks like a Twins win, but it's priced about where it should be. I mean, at 152, and it's right in that range. So. Good number, pass the game.
Rob?
Yeah, the same matchup happened last weekend, right? They used Whistler as the opener. He pitched against Bubic. And I'll tell you, these opener and then follower type situations, they affect some teams, some offenses more than others. And I think this really affected the Kansas City offense last week, guys, because they went from Whistler, the right-hander who threw well, right to Smeltzer, the left-hander, who continued on and, plays havoc with your lineup. The Royals aren't good enough to march 9 hitters that can take on righties and lefties out there. So they have to, either make some substitutions or suffer a little bit in that lineup. Suffering's what happened last week. The Twins followed it with Tyler Clippard, Duffy, May, and Zach Littell, who finally gave up a run in the 9th inning. So I like the Twins situation once again. They knocked Bubic out after 4 innings last time out. I would say the Twins are a good play here as well.
Steve?
Yeah, these 2 teams have alternated wins and losses in each of their last 4 games. Kansas City's been a tough team to handicap. They have the offensive output at times, but they've still now scored 4 runs or less in 7 of their last 8. You just look at the overall stats here. They average almost a run less per game, yet they have a better batting average on the season. So, it's just a very dysfunctional team, but that's what you see with 11 and 16 teams that have been basically an underdog in every game this season.
I will apologize for our next thing. Yesterday, I said Malley was going to back up Miley. He had been doing that, but he's actually getting the start today. So it's Malley and Ponce de Leon. Malley ranks in the 90th percentile or higher in xERA, x-batting average, x-slugging, and xWOPA. So the numbers at least are friendly for him. Is the game going to be friendly, Rob?
It could be. I think this sets up as a pretty good pitching showdown here between these 2 guys because despite the overall numbers of Ponce de Leon for St. Louis, when you just zero in on how his stuff has been, 15 strikeouts in 7 innings, better than 2 an inning, indicates pretty good stuff. And as soon as he commands it a little bit better, which he may do here against this Reds lineup, which has been quiet the first 2 games of the series, as has the St. Louis lineup. St. Louis's lineup has been quiet for 6 of their last 8. I think that Molly's got a nice matchup here. I think Ponce de Leon's got a nice matchup here. Both bullpens not really fatigued. I don't worry about either one in this instance, although St. Louis, with the amount of games that they've had to play to catch up and will have to play, I've been waiting for a good spot to play against their bullpen just due to the fatigue factor, but I don't see it here yet, Matt. So I'm looking at a low-scoring game in this one.
Steve, are you exploring Ponce de Leon and the Cardinals today?
You kill me, Matt. I was about to say, I've been biting my tongue for 5 minutes here to say Ponce de Leon is Rob Vino's favorite explorer, and you ruined it. Oh, my goodness. It's great, though. Yeah, you're on board. I can't imagine how many times the announcers are going to do that. But what Rob did say is something else I wanted to say as well, though, the fatigue factor. I've been waiting to exploit that as well. It's now, I believe, the Cardinals' 12th game in the last 8 days. And I think Rob brought up an excellent point about the bullpen might see that more than anything. By the way, guys, one stat that jumps out to me, Cardinals have 14 home runs on the season in 16 games. Absolutely no power.
Dave, what'd you price this game?
I made Cincinnati the favorite. The problem is Malley never wins. He just doesn't win. And the team never wins when he's pitching. He's not bad, but they don't win. Ponce de Leon, small sample, but 58.3% hard hit rate. I don't want those guys. No, thank you. Lean Reds, not going to bet the game.
Got a bunch of games left in about 5-6 minutes or so, fellas, as we do our quick hits. White Sox and Cubs. Dylan Cease, his ERA is 3.16. His expected ERA is near 6 and has yet to register a swinging strike on his curveball. Back to you, Dave.
Well, he just gives up a ton of home runs. He's already given up 6. Speaking of home runs, the White Sox have hit, I think, 27 over the past week. But if there's a guy who can limit him, it's Darvish. Darvish is pitching great baseball, absolutely terrific baseball. That cutter of his is nasty. I think he neutralizes the White Sox here.
Steve?
Yeah, I mean, 2 teams in total opposite directions as current form. I mean, the White Sox have now, won 7 straight and 9 of their last 11. Cubs, meanwhile, have gone just 3-7, and they have just 7 and 6 hits their last 2 losses. The White Sox have 26 hits so far, so I could definitely see the sweep. By the way, my free play is on the total here, so go to wagertalk.com for a free over-under winner in this game.
Rob?
Yeah, I think Dylan Cease, there's some regression that's going to happen there, Matt. You pointed out some key numbers, and you Darvish, as Dave said. I mean, 1 home run in 20 innings, 0.90 ERA. If you can keep the White Sox in the park, you got a really good chance. So, again, this is a game with the sweep factor. Perhaps the Cubs at home get the win here.
Yeah, that Cubs -1.5 first 5 looks rather tasty if you want to fade Cease and back Darvish. Astros and Padres, Greinke and Morjan, a.k.a. bullpen game there. Back to you, Rob. Greinke, a 1.04 ERA so far this month.
Yeah, if it wasn't Greinke on the mound, I'd worry about the Houston bullpen in this game, which is a little bit overworked in this series, but it is Zach Greinke who's been marvelous, ever since opening day. I think maybe that was a mediocre start, but since then been fantastic. The Padre lineup probably has a difficult time with him here, and he can get deep into the game, which is why I don't worry too much about the Houston fatigue in the bullpen. For San Diego, we don't know how far Marjan's going to go and how successful he'll be, but I'll say this. The Astros really lose a big chunk of their success against left-handers with Alex Bregman in the lineup. He's got a 1207 OPS against left-handers this season.
Steve, Houston scored 3 runs or less in 6 of their last 8 games.
Yeah, and that's probably why the total is so low, because I was going to say, Matt, at 8.5 is a pretty tempting over for Slam Diego. To put their home runs in perspective, I mentioned the Cardinals have 14 home runs this year in 16 games. San Diego has 54 home runs in 19 games, or 29 games, rather, an explosive offense.
Dave, Morjan looked good in his 3 innings last time out.
He's a talented kid. He's got a good arm. And he's a legit prospect. Boy, the Astros, that kid Toro is just god-awful. And he's just killing Astro rallies. But it's Greinke. He loves to pitch in this ballpark. They're trying to avoid a sweep. The price is certainly acceptable. I mean, the Astros, they're due for a little regression because they weren't as good as that hot streak, considering that they've got people out of the lineup. But I basically never go against Greinke, and I won't be doing so here.
Weaver and Cahill, Diamondbacks and Giants. Cahill has a 1.59 ERA, but his FIP is 5.99 and his expected FIP is 5.43. Steve, start us off.
Yeah, I mean, it would be something to say the Giants are red hot, but they are 5 straight wins. The Diamondbacks, of course, had underachieved this year. They won 6 straight, and now they've come back down to earth. They've lost 4 straight. And what I don't like about Arizona is they've scored 1 run in 3 of those 4 losses, 2 runs or less in all 4 losses. I don't see them flipping a switch all of a sudden and turning that offensive production problems around today.
Dave?
I think they can get some offense going against Cahill, whose his velocity's down. He's getting by with smoke and mirrors right now. He's a guy who's got to locate and keep the ball down in the strike zone, or he can get hit hard. Little buy sign on Weaver last time out. Keep on talking about, he's got the arm. Finally had a good game. We'll see if he can build off that today.
Rob, close us out on this one.
Yeah, I like that final point by Dave there, because Luke Weaver, I was concerned with the home runs that he had allowed, 7 in his first 13 2/3, but he faced a home run laden lineup last time and threw really, really well. So that could be the start of the pendulum swinging for him. And on the other side of the coin, Trevor Cahill, a ground ball type pitcher, hasn't necessarily got a ton of ground balls in limited innings so far this year. But again, if he doesn't keep it on the ground, he gets lit up. So I would look towards Arizona.
Final game, Rangers and Mariners. Minor against Dunn. A Minor pitching potentially to be traded. He's a free agent at the end of the season, so a lot on the mind for him. And Dunn, who knows what you're going to get from him. Dave, start us off.
The velocity down is an issue for Minor. It's as simple as that. He's down considerably from where he was last year, and he's getting hit harder. Hard hit percentage is 51.4%. Those are guys I don't like, and I definitely don't want Dunn, who, he's just not very good. Dunn's one of those guys who's on a major league roster because they just don't have enough major league caliber pitchers. So I think the Rangers might sneak out a win here, but I'm not going to back Minor.
Rob?
Yeah, I'd probably have to look towards the over, Matt. 7 straight overs for the Rangers. Justin Dunn, a guy who in 4 starts has recorded only 1 game ERA under 6 so far this season, so he should be very hittable. And Mike Minor, Dave pointed out some of the deficiencies there, especially with the velocity. I bet last year might have been a bit of a mirage for Mike Minor. Seattle was red hot last night offensively. If I were to look, I'd look over in this game.
Steve?
Yeah, and if you're going to play the over, I like the full game over. Instead of the first 5 over 5, I like the full game over 9. Both bullpens are suspect here. And don't look now, the Mariners and Pirates have both gone 4-0 on Friday and Saturday. You know that sweep angle, everyone's going to be loading up on Texas as a road favorite, but be careful. They've lost 7 straight games coming into this one.
All right, so time for DFS. We already know that Dave is striking, so I'm not going to ask Dave. Steve likes to go with the Coors Field people, but there's no Coors Field today, Steve, so what are you thinking?
Yeah, NASCAR, the Gibbs racers look strong yesterday at Dover, part 2 today. Truex, Hamlin, and Jones, and Kyle Busch. How do you like that, Matt? I gave you some daily fantasy for NASCAR.
There you go. Rob, you got a baseball guy you want to put a tout for a DFS today?
I don't do enough of it, Matt, to be helpful to the audience, so I'll restrain myself. I just don't do enough of it to add any value.
That's fine.
Matt, I will say you're good at daily fantasy for all the viewers out there, so definitely let us know what you're looking at.
I'm on a 3-homer streak here. 3 straight days I've picked a homer. I'm going with Carrasco. I can't quit him. I think he gets a lot of strikeouts against the Tigers. My 2 hitters for today, I'm going Corey Dickerson of the Marlins, who's really cheap, and I'm going Randall Grichuk, because the kid from the Rays really struggles against right-handers. All right, last thing here, guys, as we get close to our 50 minutes, which we don't want to do, but it is an NBA and NHL day. Dave, I know you're going to have a play, but give us 20 seconds on the NHL today. Any tidbits you want to throw out there?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm going to play the Bruins Lightning game.
That's fine. NBA, I'll give each our NBA experts 20 seconds. Steve, another day today in the NBA, 20 seconds on something you want to throw out there.
Yeah, and we're about 3 hours, which I'm not sure how many seconds that is, Matt, away from your Sixers no longer to have Brett Brown as a head coach, probably, because they tip in about 10 minutes here. But I do have a best bet on the nighttime card at wagertalk.com. And, some of these teams are down 0-3. We're going to see if they toss the towels like the Sixers today. It'll be interesting to follow.
Rob, 20 seconds on the NBA.
Yeah, I think Dallas's playoff chances hinge on the health of Luka Doncic today. It looks like he'll go, but how well he performs is questioned right now. If he performs well, Dallas has shown the ability to stay close, but their playoff chances really do hinge on how well he plays tonight.
Don't forget, final day, midnight, Koken50, the promo code, daily or full year, 50% off one purchase, anything Dave Koken. Guys, we will be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock with the baseball show, 3 o'clock with the basketball show. We always appreciate it. You're the reason why we do this on the weekends. We will see you again tomorrow. Good luck, everybody.